Let me know once my screen is visible to you. Can
Yep,
you hear
I'm
me?
able to see. Yeah, I'm able to see your screen.
Good. So first we would discuss about creating and configuring vNet pairing. But before that, I will show you like how you can create a vNet within Azure. Once that is done, then we will check about how we can create subnets, right? Within that VNet. And once those subnets are there, then we can see how we can create virtual machines within there. And the other thing is we can create another VNet. Within that, we can have other VMs, and then we can establish connectivity between these two VNets, right? So this is something where like you have multiple VNets in your environment. You want to like provide the connectivity between them. So how you can do that? So there is a concept called VNet pairing. Using that, you can allow that. Otherwise, you would be required to do that VPN connection. So that's
Yeah.
something using VPN gateway. You can always establish that. However, in that case, you would be required to make additional configuration changes, right? But with this, you don't need to make any changes. You just need to create a two-way pairing between these two VNets, right? One other thing, okay, first talk about what is VNet, right? So VNet is nothing but a kind of logical isolation within Azure network. It gives you a capability to isolate your workload, right? Create connectivity, deploy different resources, and if you want, you can create connectivity from those resources to your on-prem. By default, it gives you like outbound connectivity, and if you have public IP assigned, it allow inbound connectivity as well. But that is something, there is a concept of network security group. Using that, you can control that. But by default, it's enabled. You can have your outbound traffic, right, from your internal machines. Your internal machines would be able to access internet. But by default, anyone from external network won't be able to access your virtual machine or connect to your virtual machine unless until you have a public IP assigned to that VM. Okay. Any questions so far?
No, no, I got it. Yeah.
Okay. So are you already working on Azure or any other technology?
Yeah, I'm working in Azure.
Okay, that's good. So you are aware about these basic things.
Yes.
Okay, we go to portal. I believe I would be already
So
logged
okay,
in
so
here.
you're going to do the pairing with the different region. So one VNet in some South Asia, South India, then another VNet would be something called West Europe, something like that.
We
You
we
will do
can
that.
we can do that as well, but however, from this session perspective, I was
Yeah.
supposed to do the pairing
Okay,
within a
got it.
single region.
Got it.
But the concept is more or less very same.
Yeah, yeah.
So in order to create that virtual network or VNet, you need to go to virtual network blade. So this is something a global search, as you can see, virtual network. Once I am there on that page, then I can simply click on create virtual network. On this page, first you need to select your subscription, then resource group. So this is a brand new account, so I don't have any resource group. So from the perspective of Azure resource hierarchy, here the thing is first you need to have a subscription within which you can create any VNet. The second thing is you must create a resource group first. So as I don't have a resource group, so either I can go to resource group blade and from there create a resource group, or what I can do, I can simply create that resource group from here. BC test 01. Okay. Okay, sorry. So the naming would be, I don't want to have this naming is RG01. Okay. Then I need to provide a name to this VNet. So I can simply call it VC test VNet. From location perspective, I can use any one of these regions. So suppose I want to deploy it in central India or any other India region. Let me check what are all the regions available here.
I think South India, West India, and as well as the Central India.
South, West, and Central. Okay, let me use South India here. Okay. Then I need to provide a address space. So by default, if you would see, it's taking that 10.00/16. So I don't want to use that. I want to use my own address space. So here I simply want to use a shorter network address class range. So I would take a class C address /24. Okay. Then I don't want to add any other address space range as of now. I don't want to add IPv6, so I would leave that here. From the subnet creation perspective, I can directly, while creating this vnet, I can create subnets, right? Otherwise, once this is created, then after then I can go on the vnet blade and create the subnets from there. So I would create the first subnet from here, and later would just show like how can create other subnets from the vnet blade. So for this subnet, I can give it a name, test sub 01, and then would add a address range here. Suppose this is something would depend on your network planning, right? How you are planning your network infrastructure, how many subnets you want to have in your environment. So suppose I want to have four different subnet here, right? So that is where like it's a /24, so I can take a /26. So that is something 2 to the power 4 2. So that is something would provide me four subnet, right? /26. Okay. And the other one other thing, that's something I can show you from this blade only. So if you want to add any service endpoint, so that is something you can add from here. Service endpoint is nothing but wherever you want to communicate to Azure, different Azure services over Azure backbone network. So that is something you can enable from here. So even at a later stage, if you want to, like, suppose you want to create a communication from this VNet to blob service, right? So you can go ahead and select that blob service from here. You can have that with Key Vault, SQL, different services are there, right? Storage. So all those services are there. Based on that, you can enable from here, right? Suppose I want to enable for this storage, right, as I mentioned, blob. So that is something you can enable here, right? Once you would done, so any communication from VMs or services which are within this VNet to store Microsoft storage would be on Azure backbone network.
Oh, okay. So if we not selected means what is the cost? No? So the communication is not happening. Or
Sorry.
if we not selected means what will happen in the storage or network? If we not selected means what will happen?
So the connection would still there. You would be able to connect over those services. But again, suppose you are using some blob, right? So that is where you would be required to provide that public address, right? Using that, the connectivity not would not be over the backbone network, but it's something where the external factors would also applicable.
Got got it. So the
So
external
here by
network and
selecting this, you are offloading that traffic to backbone network, so you would get better speed, less latency, and all kind of those kind of things.
yeah. Thanks. Thanks. Yes.
Suppose just an example. Suppose you have a requirement to move terabytes of data, right, from your on-prem to Azure, right? So that is where probably you use that easy copy command, copied all that data to blob, right? So that's
Correct.
one of the option. You copied all that data in that blob, and now that using that blob address, you are copying that data from that blob to a virtual machine, right? So in that case, the data is again trafficking, right? Going over the network. So that is where you can enable the service endpoint thing, right? So by that way, the traffic would flow within the Azure network, and you would get a better speed and everything. Hope this makes sense.
Yes, got it. So otherwise, so it will go to the customer network. So what are the
Right.
networks that the customer has? So it will flow.
Right. If you are using some service which is having a public endpoint, it would go through that. So it's a kind of you are adding a private kind of endpoint, right? Where your whatever traffic is being generated, it's not going over the network. It's simply within Azure network. It's going from one service to another over Azure backbone network.
Yeah, got it.
Okay. Next, network security. And one more thing, I missed that part. So it's something you are enabling at the subnet level, not at the bnet level. Okay.
Okay.
Security. So here, if you want to enable Bastion host, so as of now, no. Oh, sorry. As of now, leave all these things as disabled. Bastion is something a topic for today. So I will show you how you can use Bastion. Right? It's a separate based service which was Microsoft recently introduced, using which you can connect to your virtual machines over RDP or SSH without using a public IP. So that's a separate topic. I will show you later. Okay. If you want to provide any tags, you can put those tags. Like suppose I just want to put a tag support. Now next review and create. So once this validation would complete, post that you can simply click on create and it would create this subnet. Oh, sorry, this vnet along with that subnet that we defined there. Click create. So you can track the status from this screen, right? Whatever resources are being deployed, it would show you there. Okay, go to resource. So now we are on our vnet. So otherwise, what you need to do again, you simply need to go to vnet. On that vnet blade, you would see your vnet that you just created as listed, right? Go to that vnet, and then from here you can check your address space that you assigned. The other thing is earlier this option was not there. If you would talk about a year or so ago, right? Now you can add additional address space here. Otherwise, earlier the condition was once you specified any address space, you can't make any modification in that, right? Now you can't make modification in the existing address space. I'm not sure. I think we can make that as well. I didn't realize that. So let me just check that if it gives me. I think we can make that change. So anyways, let's leave it 24 only, the one that we specified. The other thing that I was talking about, you can add additional address space if you want here. Now go to subnet. And the other thing is whatever virtual machines or whatever resources you would deploy within this VNet, you can check all those from by going to connected device, and it would give you a list of all those resources which are created and attached with this VNet. Okay, subnet. You can see your subnet is listed there. I want to add additional subnets, so what I can do, go there, test sub 02. So this 64 is nothing. If you would divide that 192.164.0.0 in four subnets, so the second range would be starting from 164 to 127. Okay.
Ah,
So here again, you would get all these settings you can define from here. It's simply asking if you want to add a network security group. a route table and a service endpoint, right? That I was discussing earlier, right? So you can add those services from here, right? Click save.
And what about this subnet delegation? So I haven't checked it
Designate
in
a
my
subnet
yeah.
to be used by a dedicated service. So I also saw this option first time, right? Frankly
Okay.
speaking.
No, no, no.
So,
Yeah.
but if you would hover it here, designate a subnet to used by a dedicated service. Okay, so if I would talk about, I think Bastion is a good example in that case. So if you are going to use Bastion, right, or VPN gateways, right, that is where you need to create a dedicated subnet, and that subnet should be greater than 27/27, right? So I believe this is something related to that. Let me see the options. Bare metal, no, it's not that, but it seems something related to that. I
Yeah,
will have to further check about
yeah.
it if
I
Bastion is
haven't.
something comes under it, right?
Not sure.
So there are a lot of things coming in, but
Yeah.
it's again from the description. It seems like we are designating this subnet or making this subnet is basically available for a dedicated service. Okay, so leave it as is. Click save. Okay, so it's successfully added. So we have created our two subnets, right? From the demo purpose, we are supposed to create two different vnets and then have connectivity within those vnets. So before going and deploying another vnet, let me create a virtual machine in this vnet first because it also take a few minutes, right? In meantime, we can create a different vnet, right?
Yes.
Okay, let me go to virtual machine blade. It virtual machine. Let me deploy everything in that single source code. Virtual machine name 01. No infrastructure redundancy 102. Leave it 1 to itself. Support instances minimum size. I leave it the size. SSH. Okay. Authentication. Let me put password. Oh, password range. Okay. Leave everything default. Premium SSD. Okay. Networking. So here you can select in whatever subnet you want to put it in. Okay. Network IP, public inbound port. Okay. I don't want to assign any public IP here because by that way I can show you the use of Bastion host, right? So I'm not assigning a public IP to this virtual machine. Click review, create.
So the Bastion means is kind of a jump box, right?
Yeah, it's a
So,
jump box, but it's as a service now. It's available as a service.
I think the size we need to choose different
The
one.
size
From
currently
this,
unavailable
yeah.
in South India. Okay.
You can, yeah.
Okay. If that size is not available, we can check anyone else. D2SV3. What is wrong here? Size not available. Why?
Otherwise, we go with a simple any Windows VM and Ubuntu
I mean, it's
something.
showing size not available.
Okay, okay. Support size we need to choose.
seems, mm, and these are all are listed as not available. I'm not sure what's
Yes.
wrong.
This is the not available. I think from the free subscription, right?
It's a
So
free
something,
subscription.
yeah, something the region wise, the Microsoft will not allow us to provision those kind of stuff.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
because the South India, right? So most of them they use in the region, right? So probably that region they want to
Yeah,
provide us.
that could be a reason. That could be a reason.
Either
So
we need to go to
the
the
thing is,
different.
we won't able to deploy this VM here. That
No, no.
means,
Yeah, we can go to the different resource group within different location. Then we can.
yeah, yeah, that is something we would be required to do this whole practice again, right? Okay. Okay, why that way? Let me check if it gives me. Okay, there is no, you can't, once created, you can't change location
Okay.
to a VNet. So that's the thing. Move to other, so move to another region. Okay, so the good thing is, as you can see,
Yeah.
uh,
Different
it
regions.
gives us
Yeah.
an option to move this complete VNet to another region.
Yeah.
So let's move it to
But we cannot do
destination.
it in the production.
This is something like it's
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's
the
a test
testing process.
environment, right? From production perspective, ideally you won't have this issue, right? For any reason, if you have any such kind of issue, you can connect with Microsoft, take their help, and I mean, whenever you would face this issue, mostly it would be related to quota, right? So that's something can be fixed with the help of Microsoft. Other than that, if it's location-wise quota, where for any reason resources are not available, you can connect with Microsoft, and hopefully they would provide you some solution or some sort of like ETA. Why when they have more resource types or everything is available in that region and location, right?
Correct. In my experience, central use would be the very good one. Yeah, easy
This is the
because
first time when I'm using Central India. Otherwise, oh sorry, any reason in India mostly,
yeah.
even from the production point, it's in Europe or in US. But anyways, okay, so let me move it to
You can show our guys to the another option.
review. I understand metadata information stored resource group. South India will be created in the region. Yeah, that's fine. Other thing is whenever moving a resource from one subscription or one place to another, you would be required to move it along with network. Okay, meanwhile, open a different tab, and in that tab, we can start creating another subnet, right? So another VNet, I believe. I mean,
Yeah.
because anyways, it seems it's gonna take some time.
Probably it will recreate everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Easy.
So this time I'm going to select West US or Central US. Okay. Name test VNet Central. I will leave this /16 IP address here. Okay. Subnet name. I will leave this subnet as /24 because anyways we have created one there, And with respect to this particular VNet and subnets, we just need to spin up a VM and show the connectivity between these two. Security, leave everything disabled. Tag, leave it. Review, create. Tag is nothing but a metadata about I mean, there you can put the information, who is managing this, who is supporting this, for what purpose it's created, that kind of information. It's created. Let me create a new virtual machine there. Keep everything in this one. VM02, not South India. It's US Central. What is wrong? Okay, I don't want a public IP, so click none. Leave everything as is. Click review create. Okay, so meanwhile it's also moved from there to here. Let me spin up another VM in this vnet. Okay, it's started. Let's move to virtual machine blade again. It's US East. Okay. Again, we don't need a public IP. So these two machines are created. So let this one is created. Okay, go to resource. Good. So, Kumaran, as I was saying about that Bastion host, so whenever you want to connect to any VM, you can simply capture its public IP, right? Somehow I left that attached to this one, but anyways, we are not going to connect using our local machine. So, as a third option, you would see this Bastion, right? However, in order to use it, you are supposed to have that Bastion service deployed in your environment. Otherwise, you would click on it, you don't have Bastion, you would get this option to use Bastion, and if you would click on it, it would ask you to deploy the one, right? So it's not there as of now. So let me close it. The other thing about Bastion is you need to have this Bastion service deployed in every subscription. As of now, it doesn't work cross subscription. And the subnet that you would create for Bastion is something which should be greater than /27. Okay, let me delete this one meanwhile. So in this East US one, I'm going to deploy a Bastian service, and in order to do that, I need to have a dedicated subnet, which should be created as a Bastian subnet. So let me go to subnets. Kumaran, you there?
Yes, no,
Okay, so here what I was saying, we have deployed two VMs, right? One is one subnet, oh sorry, one VNet, another is in different VNet subnet, right? So now, from the Bastian perspective, before going to that VNet pairing, I just want to show you how we can deploy a Bastian host. By that way, we can connect using that Bastian and check the connectivity between those two, right? So I am on the virtual network one, and within that, I would deploy a new subnet, RG1 VNet, PC test RG1 VNet. Okay, so not this one. We are going to this central US one. Subnets. Why it's not showing that the subnets that we created?
yeah, that was 292, right? Yeah,
Right,
correct.
that was 192. So that's something is different story. We need to check that, right? Why that happened. But from this demo perspective, what I can do, let me quickly spin up two new subnets and address space of that series 192.68.0.0/24. Let me save it. It's done. Let me remove the first one. So I removed that. Okay, so now it's failed to save virtual, failed to save address is changing from subnet.
Okay. I think when it's
Failed to
moved, right,
save.
there is a default subnet is
I
created.
believe no. The thing is, let me cancel it. Probably it's having a subnet itself over there,
Yeah,
right?
correct.
Okay, we deployed a
Look,
VM, and that's the reason it's not letting me use that, right?
uh,
So
okay. You
if
go
you
to
would see
connected device.
connected
Yeah.
device, I believe, yeah, you can see
Got it.
this
Yeah.
VM is there. That's why it's not letting me use that. So the thing is, even from BNet pairing perspective, I can't have a overlap network, right? For BNet pairing, we need to have a distinct network address spaces available in those BNets. Only in that case we would be able to pair those two networks. It shouldn't be overlapped. So that's, I mean, by mistake we did this, but again, that tells us something about the concept, right?
Yeah.
So let me remove this VM because anyhow we need to remove it.
Mm. Just you're removing the nick. I
I'm
think you
on
need to
Nick.
go to yeah.
Okay. I didn't realize because attached devices.
It's not a problem. This gives so much information to
Yeah.
others. I think
So
yeah.
this is that VM. Let me remove it.
And we can tell them also, right? Even though if we delete that VM, the underlying resource will
Underlying
be kept.
resources would remain there, and you would be required to clean those resources up
Right?
manually. Or you need to have some sort of a script to delete the VM and all the related resources.
Oh,
In Azure, it doesn't remove everything by default. Like if you talk about AWS, right? Only in case if you mark any disk to be remain there, it would remain. Otherwise, it would be removed with the termination of a VM. So that VM has been gone. Let me go to virtual networks. One, remove this. It's still not letting me. Now it should be because that VM is gone.
What is the error message?
Yeah, it's gone.
It's done. Yeah. How the replication time?
Yeah, it's gone. We can go to address space. Let me go to subnets. Let me try to remove this subnet. Should be able to this time. Okay, so that subnet is gone. Now we should be able to remove that address space as well. Okay, it's also gone. Okay, now go to subnets. Create two subnet. Test. So I would create those subnets /26 range. So I would leave these things as is. I'm not attaching any network security group as of now. So I'm leaving all those things as default. Okay. Oh, I clicked twice. Let me close it. Hit another subnet. Test sub2. This time keep the same. What /26. Click save. So we have these two subnets added. Okay, let me close it. Go to virtual machine blade, deploy that VM1 again. I'm giving another name VM03 because the resources are there, so probably it would give an error. The size is currently unavailable. I'm not going to deploy here. It's US East. Password. Okay, so the VMs are being created. Meanwhile, let me create another subnet, and that subnet is something which I would use for Azure Bastian. However, the thing is, in order to create a subnet for Azure Bastian, you need to use that specified predefined name, and I believe that name is something called Azure Bastian itself. Let me check that requirement. I think the subnet name would be Azure Bastian itself. Azure Bastian subnet, Azure Bastian subnet. As you can see, the subnet name must be Azure Bastian subnet, right? And it should be /27 or larger. Put right there. So I need to create a 27. So within this, in order to create that 27, the range would be 192. Okay. So I'm further taking slashing that network further, right? And I am using this slash 27 from the same address range. So Kumaran, let me know if you have any question about this Azure Bastion service.
No, no, I'm following.
Okay, so the first thing is you need to create a subnet name as Azure Bastion subnet. So that's a hard and fast requirement. And another thing is you need to have the subnet as greater than slash 27.
Okay.
So now we have that subnet. Now go here. Okay, Bastions. Go there. As I mentioned, it's a managed service, right? It's a PaaS service. So from here you can create a Bastion host. Click there, resource group. I will put everything together. So here I put mention Azure. Okay, Azure Bastion 01. I would put in the same region. US East. One more thing you need to keep in mind, it's something as of now supports taking, I mean using as a Bastion for VMs which are within this single subscription. Oh, sorry, I was mentioning single subscription, single VNet. Sorry.
Got it. Yeah, that's the question. Okay.
So as you can see, once I would select that, it automatically pick that Azure Bastion subnet, right? Otherwise, if you would see, there are three different subnets, right? But it by default selected that Bastion subnet. However, let's see one more thing. If you would select any other subnet, oh sorry, any other VNet. So let me try to select it. As you can see, it's not letting me. The other subnets are grayed out. Okay, public IP. It would create a public IP for it. You can use an existing one as well, right? Review and create. And using it, you can connect to a Windows virtual machine over RDP or a Linux virtual machine over SSH. And the same would be opened in a new tab in the browser.
So you're telling that something kind of in GCP portal, right? So you'll get another.
Yeah, it's kind of that. However, there you need not to deploy anything, right?
Oh,
You
okay.
by default have that option available, but here you need to deploy this service and you will pay for this service as well. However, I
Oh,
think in GCP, you don't need to pay anything separately for that.
so here we say, okay.
Okay, meanwhile, while it's connecting, right? Oh, sorry, while this Bastion host is getting created, what we can do, we can create the VNet peering, right? And then with the help of that VNet peering, we can try to connect from one network to another.
Um, before doing that, so
Mhm.
can we show them, right? So once it's connected, then we connected via the bastion. Then we have to just try to connect, try to ping or something from the one unit
Exactly,
to another unit.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. The thing is, as I mentioned, the other concept is a bastion is something which is limited to a single VNet.
Oh, oh,
So
okay.
you won't be able to access a VM using bastion in a different VNet. So we will connect to a VM in a single VNet, and from that VM we would try to access the another VM. So conceptually, it would say you are able to make the connection. However, we can't show like from the other VM. But I believe the other VM is having that public IP assigned. By mistake, we left that, right? So if we want to check, when we want to check from that side, we can connect to that VM over SSH because it's having that public IP assigned, right, from our local machine, and then we can check that connectivity from there.
Sure.
So you want me to wait till this deployment is complete and then
Yeah, yeah.
okay,
Because I know the process of what is the VNet
okay,
peering.
okay, okay, makes
Our
sense.
guys is know, right? So if we want
Okay,
to
so
ping
probably
the
this
VNet,
Bastion thing is a bit new for you.
yeah, yeah, the Bastion thing is new. But the VNet pairing, I know that. But so our guys know, right? So if we do not, we didn't make the VNet pairing, so what will be the problem? So then we can show them. So now we are going to do the VNet peering. Then
So again,
both will be
even with regards to vNet pairing, we need to keep one thing in mind. vNet pairing is something which is not transitive, right? So it's
yeah.
not like you can like you have that vNet pairing from A to V, right? There are three different vNets. Just an example, AVC. You created that pairing between A to V, right? So it's not, and then V to C. So it's not like you would be able to access A from C because in between you have that vnet v, so it's
Correct.
not like that. It's kind of one-to-one mapping.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, that's the worst
You
case.
need to have a pairing connection enabled between two vnets in order to make that connectivity across.
So will it take much time, for this dash test?
It usually takes around 5 minutes if I'm
Oh,
not wrong.
okay. If the time consuming, then we can go with the VNet peering.
Yeah, no issue, let it complete.
The portal thing, so we should doing for the POC thing and something like that. So that's fine. So
I mean,
in this
it's a kind of POC and it's a better option instead of like accessing different systems from your local machine. It's kind of giving more control over these things.
so in your real-time production environment, so did you use anything or something kind of for the deployment? Are you using Azure DevOps or something like that, or the same thing, the PowerShell scripting or
I
something?
mean, it's up to you how you want to deploy it. You can deploy it,
Oh,
I believe, using PowerShell and other options as well.
oh, so, so you,
So it's a simple service, right? The only condition you should have that Azure Bastian subnet available.
ah,
So once you have that subnet available, there is no other restriction. You can create this Bastion service, and within that Bastion service, if you would see, there are different IPs available. It's asking for slash 27 IP. That means like there are around 30 IPs available, right? So it's something or as per the load, it would can deploy other resources as well. I mean other bastions within that service itself, right? And based on that, whatever resources are being deployed, based on that, it would cost you.
no,
Okay, it's done. Okay, go to resource. So if you would see, there is not much you would see from here. You can check activity log. Again, this RVAC is something, access control is something to whom you want to give access for it, right? You can restrict the access who can use this Azure Bastion or not. Session, from here you can centrally see like what are all the sessions in access, right? In currently there is not much here under properties. Lock is nothing but you want to put a lock from anyone to making any modifications in it, or by anyways removing it, right? There is not much option. In case if you have any issue, you can open a support ticket from this Azure Bastion blade itself. Okay, now let's close it. Go to virtual machine blade. Okay, so this VM03 is the one which is in East US, right? And it's the one which is deployed in that VNet where we created Bastion service. So now if you would click connect, right? You have these three options. These three options were earlier as well. Earlier, it was not giving you an option to use Bastion. If you would click with this Bastion, it was asking you to like deploy a Bastion service, right? But now, if you would click on it, Bastion, click on use Bastion, right? On the same page, it would give this connectivity thing, right? Connectivity options. You need to
oh,
put your username, you need to put your password, and as you can see, you can put SSS keys as well, right? Password. Once you would put your username password, click connect. A pop up. Okay. Always allow. Done. Click again. So as you can see, it's the connection is being made over HTTPS.
Okay. Secure one.
Yep, right? You are connected to this.
Okay. So,
Any question on this? So you can see like within minutes time you
uh,
can deploy Bastian service and can start using it, right?
can you show it? Try to access my SSH.
The machine which is in different vNet, right? Kumaran, what
The,
was your question?
no, 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 no. So the Bastion we are using for the secure access. Okay.
Hmm.
So without public IP, so we cannot access the machine. So that's understood.
Right. But with the
So
help of
now,
Bastion, we can use a machine
yeah,
even when it doesn't have that public IP assigned. If you can go to the virtual machine, okay,
yeah. If
you
you
can
go to
see
the
it doesn't have public IP assigned.
okay. So the internal IP, so it cannot
Yeah,
be accessed by
it's,
the
I mean, your Bastion server itself is having a public IP assigned. That is why that is how that connection is being made, right? So that's
oh,
a different thing. But here, if you would see, your machine simply doesn't have a public IP assigned. You are using that Bastion host jump box as Bastion host as a kind of middle layer, right? Using which you are connecting to that, and that Bastion is further connecting to your host machine, which is over a private network.
oh,
So simply here click Bastion, and then you would be able to make that connection.
oh, oh,
And the other thing was about the session that I was showing. If you would go to Bastion, you can see like you can centrally see what are all the connections are there in place. Go to sessions, and from here you can track as well, right? What are all the sessions which are there? You can see this session is there, right?
correct.
If you
Yeah,
want to terminate this session, you can delete it from here itself. So let me
yeah,
try that. Okay. If it would drop that connection, the network connection Bastion appears unstable, right? Refresh. As you can see, right? The connection is
yeah,
dropped.
yeah,
So that's the central point from where you can control what are all the sessions which are there. And again, the activity log using which you can check further, right? What are all the connections in place, who created that connection and other things, right? You can see.
yeah.
So let me close it. The other thing which we were talking about was it's something works within a single VNet only as of now. Who knows? I mean, I believe this limit should be removed, right? So to further validate this, you can go to another VM which is in a different VNet. Try to connect to this VNet. Oh, sorry, this VM using Bastion. Use Bastion. As you can see, it's asking you to deploy Bastion service first in that VNet, है ना?
Correct.
Right? Okay. So this was one thing.
That means one Bastion, one Bastion service.
Yeah. So that's why it's something which might like in you might end up paying more because in every VNet, like on the basis of number of VNet, you would be required to create different Bastions. However, within a VNet, it doesn't matter how many subnets you have.
Oh,
Okay. Okay. Let me close it. So the another thing was okay. No, no, no. So this VM2 is something I believe is having a public IP assigned. So you can see it's having a public IP assigned. Let me open PuTTY. Using that, I can make a connection. Port 22 SSH open. So as I was saying about BNet, by default, it gives you outbound access enabled. But the thing is, if you have a public IP assigned, anyone would be able to connect to your machines over that public IP.
no.
Okay. So we are connected to this second machine as well. But as of now, if you would see over private IP, I won't be able to connect to that another machine. Uh, this one, PM03. So what's the private IP of it? 192. Okay. Oh. So as you can see, I'm not able to connect to that VM, right? As of now.
Yeah.
So that is where we can create VNet pairing between these two VNets, and then the connectivity should establish. So let me do that by going to this VNet. Go to VNet, any one of them, right? Where you want to create this pairing thing. Go to pairing, 8 pairing, pairing link name. So you can provide the name. Ideally, it should reflect the pairing connection type, right? From which VNet to VNet you are making that connection. But here we can put anything, right? Test pairing 0. Traffic remote virtual network. Allow local remote virtual network. Okay. Traffic remote virtual remote. This virtual network peering link name. Remote virtual network. Okay. We need to provide that peering link name from both sides. Test pairing. So I believe I am in US East. So what I can put now, East US, West US, and similarly. Oh my God. I return to VNet virtual machine peering, 8 peering. So I need to provide a name from both side. Traffic to remote virtual networks. Traffic forwarded from virtual network gateway, none default. So these options are something which are related to while you are using this like in your what we call it hub, right? When this VNet is something which is being used in your hub, and from there you need to further provide the connectivity to your on-prem, right? Using express route or VPN connection, right? So this is something useful in hub and spoke models sort of things. So from here, you can click this as block traffic that originate from outside this virtual network. So that's something, whatever traffic is coming from outside, it would stop. It won't go to the different one. Okay. Here, peering link. This one is West US to East US. Resource Manager Classic. I know it. Source ID. Subscription. Virtual network. Select a different name. Acha. Okay. I need to select this one. And these are the same options which were there earlier on the first one. Right. Click it. So it's good. It's in a single screen. It's making both these connections. So it's a kind of two-way connection, right? From
Yeah.
one VNet to another, and then from another VNet to first one. You would see like there are two different pop-ups, right?
Yes. Earlier it was
Yeah, you were
only
required to create two separate. As you can see, I
yes,
didn't had to
yes,
make anything, and I started getting the ping.
yeah.
Any confusion on this?
No, no.
That one option that I was talking about, remote one. So that's something when you are using this in a hub or spoke model, right? Where one VNet would be used as a hub. So that is where it would be required. The another VNet would be required to use this VNet to further connect to your on-prem or any other network. So that's that model.
Oh,
Okay. So that's one thing. Let me close this connection. So now we have checked that peering thing. Okay, let me go to this peering connection and see what are all the options available. So as you can see, the options are only from the perspective of if you would see, if you would want to further make any changes, whatever options were there, you can make those changes from here, right? Like at a later stage, you are converting it to have and spoke in another model, right? So in that case, if you are required to make any changes in these settings, right? So that's where you can come here or go to that pairing connection and then make those changes. And the other thing is on this bnet, it would see the you would see the pairing which is from this side, right? U to east US to west US. But if you would go to another side of the bnet, it would show the connection west US to east US, right? So you can see that from bnet base. Let me go to vnet, go to this one. Oh, sorry. Okay, so this is central US. Okay, anyways, name doesn't matter here. It's more regarding concepts. So here, if you would go to peering, so as you can see, right, it's from the
yes.
different side to that used US
Yes.
VNet.
Okay.
So this was this thing. Another peering network routes, network. Okay, here security rule, associate NSD, evaluate effective. Okay, deploy. So the first three options is covered, right? Deploy and configure Bastian service is also covered. So now the thing is we can check about network security rule, effective security rule, and UDR, right? User defined
Yes.
routes or routes.
In, in peering, right, what is the gateway subnet?
Sorry.
Uh, Gateway transit. So what a purpose? If you
Let
explain that,
me go there. Let me go there. Okay,
I'll
let me
explain
go to
itself
this
having
peering.
that because the things will come default, but if you need to read into
You can see here, na? It's
gateway,
self-explanatory. Gateway transit enables one virtual network to use VPN gateway in paired virtual network for cross-premises or VNet to VNet connectivity.
okay, this is the geo
Sorry,
replication thing.
I was telling you I was a bit confused. So basically, that's this option, virtual network gateway. That's where you are required to have that hub and spoke model,
Oh,
right? So
because
using if you would enable this, so that is where this particular VNet would be used as a spoke thing. Oh, sorry, hub thing. Another one is as a kind of spoke. So that VNet would be able to connect using this virtual network gateway to your further extended network.
oh,
Does it make sense?
yeah, yeah, got it.
Okay, good. Cancel it. Okay, so now the another thing is network security group. Now the thing is you might think like now we are connected, right? But how the network is routing, how you can secure or make like suppose you have a VM, certain VM about which you don't want any other VM or a certain number of VMs should be able to connect it like from a particular subnet only that connection should come, right? So that's where you can use the network security group, right? NSG, and this NSG is something which is stateful, and by default it would provide all outbound connection. So let me show you that on that page. Network security groups. And the other thing is network security group is something which you can either put on in front of a subnet or in front of a network interface, right? However, it's recommended to use it subnet level, not at the virtual machine or network interface level. However, there might be certain requirements based on that. This based practice is something which you might ignore. The thing is, suppose there is a VM for which you want this VM should be connected from a certain VM, certain IP only, right? Certain internal IP only, or from a certain subnet only, right? However, at subnet level you have other VMs as well. So you would not like to like put those more restrictive roles probably at that level, right? That is where you can use in another network security group which is there on the virtual machine NIC card level. So okay, we didn't realize at that time when we were deploying those VMs. So instead of restricting that public IP, we probably for this VM, we probably left this NSD thing enabled, right? Okay, so in order to add a NSD, what you need to do, click add. There is not much which you can do from here, right? Oh, sorry. Let me go back. So while you want to add a new NSD, click add. Here, provide a resource group, provide a name, test NSG. Okay. Next screen is just for add tags. Now click create. It won't take much time. By default, you would see three inbound and three outbound rule. So in inbound rule, you would see VNet to VNet connection is something, VNet to VNet connectivity is something which is allowed by default. Like connectivity from different, what we call it, load balancers is also allowed, and any other traffic which is there, it's denied. Similarly, you can see you would see default three rules created with the priority above 65,000. You would see allow inbound VNet inbound traffic. So you would see by default all the inbound traffic allowed from any VNet which is peered. So you have the thing you need to keep in mind is it's talking about peered. It's not about like it's not paired with some VNet and the traffic would allow. No, in order to like allow that traffic, that should be paired. So once you would pair that, you don't need to make any changes in the energy. It's allowed by default. Second thing is any traffic which is coming from load balancers, it's also allowed, right? From load balancer to any, right? The third thing is after then any other traffic which is coming in, that's denied. So in order to allow anything, you need to create roles I mean you need to create rules which are having lower priority. So that is where you can create rules starting from one, or probably it would be better if you would have some prior planning about the same, where you want to like suppose different sort of connectivity. You would probably like define a particular priority range which you would use. So this priority range is something which works in ascending order, right? So if you have two rules, one is having 100 priority, another is having 200 priority. So this is about that third point, effective, right? If you would see this one, evaluate effective security rules. So it's about that, right? So if you have, suppose just an example, you have three different rules. One is having priority 100, another is having 200, another last one is having 300. And in priority 100, you denied something, some traffic. In priority 200, you allowed something. And priority 300 is something you made some other things, right? So it's when the rules would be analyzed. So the first matching rules, once it would reach to that first matching rule, it won't analyze any other rule related to that traffic. So this is something a point to be taken from this, right? Kumaran,
Yes.
any confusion about it?
Got
Effective
it.
security rules.
So you're saying that the lower number will take the higher precedence.
Exactly. So rules are something which are analyzed in in ascending order. And once it would
Yes.
reach to the first matching rule, it won't analyze any other rule
Got it.
for that particular traffic.
Oh,
Okay. Similarly, in outbound, you would see VNet traffic allowed, internet outbound allowed, and deny all other outbound. So allow internet outbound is something which is this last rule is something doesn't make much sense, but it's there because in upper rule it's allowing everything from the internet perspective.
yeah.
So this is about the different rules, and the other thing is if you want to deny traffic from one particular subnet, right? So that is something you can create a rule, right? and how you can create a rule. Let me go to this inbound security rule. From here, add a rule, right? Here you can put a source, right? Its source could be anything, right? Any IP address, service tag, application security group. So service tag is something again similar to that what we have while creating that subnet. So from a specific service, right? If you would allow give that service tag name. So if you would be aware, right? Microsoft are having different IP ranges for different services, right? And these IP ranges are something which changes over time. So it's not that easy to keep track of all those changes. So it's better to use service tag for a service from which you want to allow the traffic. So by that way, whatever changes are being made, I mean, behind the scenes, those changes would automatically replicate and you won't require to make any changes, right? At the same time, if you want to, like, suppose we have those two VNets connected, right? If we want to deny traffic from a particular subnet within those VNets, so that is where we can explicitly deny that traffic from here, right? We can probably put IP address here. We can put the address range for that particular subnet from which we want to deny that address or allow that address. By default, everything is allowed, so it's better you would use the deny one, right?
Yeah.
So you would put that subnet address here, port range if you want to put there, destination. So destination you can probably put that virtual network, right? So from that particular subnet, any traffic which is coming to this bnet over this particular subnet or virtual machine where this network rule is NSG is applied, that traffic would be denied. And this is here you would select the priority thing. Okay.
Got it.
Any question on this, or do you want me to show this, or it's understood?
Yeah, for me it's understood now.
Good. Okay, let me close it then. So these are the other two things, effective and the other one. How you can apply this. So let me see that from here on the same page, right? You would see two options, right? Under settings, network interface and subnets. So if you want to apply this energy at network interface, you need to go here, click associate, and from here, no network is interface, select a subscription in location South India. Okay, unfortunately, I created this energy in South India location, right? So
Yeah,
that's
that
why
is
there is nothing available in
at
that
least
region.
yeah, the
So that's why
default
it's
one.
not. That's why it's not giving me an option.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the concept is very similar. You would go to subnet, and whatever subnets are there within that location, you can attach those subnets here, right? So that's one thing. Or let
Yeah.
me do one thing. NSG, where it is. Let me quickly create another NSG. It won't take much time here. So this is something region specific, okay?
Oh,
So from here you understood one other thing, right? It's a region specific. If you would create it any other region, you won't be able to apply it to the resources which are in a different region.
yeah, yeah.
So even if we made that mistake, we learned something from that, right?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. That's the one thing to create so much room for us
Yeah,
to.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if you would make some mistake, by that mistake you can learn something. I mean, if you are working in production environment, probably you are aware about these things. But the thing is,
Yeah,
due to lack of practice, at times we forget about those things.
correct. Exactly.
So let me go to this particular energy. So what I was talking about, you can apply it at network interface level or subnet level. So if you would go to network interface, click associate. So as you can see, you are just getting a single uh, these are the network interfaces select. Okay, so basically this particular screen gives us another uh, 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 I mean gives us another chance to learn something, right? And that chance, that learning is something you can have only a single energy attached to a network resource or subnet.
Oh,
You would
either
see,
it
if you would
was.
see, right? Look at here. This is something have a network energy attached. That's why it's not giving us an option to attach it to this energy, right? So leave that. Go to subnet if you want to attach it at the subnet level. Click associate. The first thing, okay. From here, you can select uh, a vNet. So the regional thing that I was talking about, I think we need to check further about it, because if you would see in the US region, you are able to see both of them. Okay, probably that NSC.
Once we select that VNet, I think probably we will get a submit option after that.
Okay, it's not letting me choose that. Okay, but it's letting me choose this one, but I'm not
Yes.
able to choose this one.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
a
so
different
that's
region.
that's right. That's right. You can apply it within a single region only, in which you created it. So once you would select it, you can select a subnet. Suppose I want to apply it over test subnet. Click OK. So it's applied at that level. Let me create another one to further understood the concept. You can't apply two subnets. Oh, sorry, two energies at the same level. Create another one. Okay, I'm not supposed to open it. Test energy 3. Go to resource. Go to subnet. Let's try to select again. You can see, right?
Yeah.
This one. This subnet is already associated with network security group. By choosing this subnet, you will replace the network security group association. So here, one more thing, right? For a subnet, it gives you an option to associate it with a different energy and replace it, right? Replace the existing energy. However, the same is not true when you are going looking for a network interface. So if you would see here, it's showing you a network interface, but you are not able to select it.
Yes.
You can see, right? Okay, so that was this thing. Is there anything else we left for in our
For the
discussion?
UDF.
Okay, UDR thing, right? Okay, so go to a subnet. So here, from the routing perspective, the routing is bit different in Azure. So the best place to start with is to look for Azure writing. Sorry. So the best place to look for it is to look in the Azure documentation and check for Azure routing. So here in Azure, you would see a concept of system routes, right? So by default, you don't require to create any routing. It uses those system routes, right, to route traffic between different subnets, networks, right? Even you are using those express route connections. That is where if you are using those BGP things, the system routes would be updated automatically. So the thing is where you would use those user defined routes, right? This is a question that can come in your mind. So the uh, so that the okay, I'm getting a bit confused. So okay, let me go to system routes first. Go to
Its name is route table.
let me check what is net. Okay, route
Okay.
tables. So if you would see, you won't see any route table here, right? Because as I mentioned, it uses those system routes. So the thing is when you would create a custom route, right? Or when you would create a user defined route. So you would create a user defined route when you want to overwrite the traffic routing, and probably the reason could be you want to like suppose you have a network virtual appliance, right? Suppose you want to use Palo Alto firewall, right? Or suppose you want to use Azure firewall. So that is where you would be required to move all your traffic to that virtual appliance IP as a next hop. So that is where you would overwrite those system routes. Does it make sense?
Correct.
And now the question is from where you can check about those system routes. So let me go to subnet. I'm not sure if we would get an option from subnet, but the thing is at the network interface level, yes, we get it in option. Let me go to subnet. Here, if you would see, it gives us an option to select a routing table, right? But it doesn't show us the system routes, if you would see here. By default, it's selected as none. That means it's using those system routes. There is no overwriting. But again, at the same time, you need to keep one thing in mind. Even if you would apply a system route, oh sorry, you would apply a user-defined routing table, right? A custom route table. It would still use those system routes. But the thing is, it would be one layer above that. So if it would find a route in that UDR, it won't go and look for the same route in that system routing table. But if that route is not there, then it would further look in that system routes. Does it make sense?
Yes, got it.
Okay. So now the thing is from where you can check what are all the routes are there, how the routing is happening, right? That's a question that can come to your mind. So that is where you would be required to go to either you can go to your virtual machine, check from there, right? You can okay. Let me show you. You need to go to your virtual machine. From there, you need to go to your where that NIC card is.
Network. The left panel go to networking.
Where that NIC card is.
On
Okay,
the left side.
networking. Sorry. Go to networking, and from here you can select the network interface. Go to network interface. Here you can see, and the other thing is the security rules that we were talking about. So suppose just an example. Okay, it's first let me talk about net effective route. Then I will talk about effective security rules. Okay, so here you can see the same. So if you would look here in this effective route, so it would show you all the system routes which are there in present and applied as of now. So as you can see, right? By default, it has all these system routes available. But the thing is, if you are putting a next hop, defining a next hop in that UDR, user defined route, so that is something would be added to on top of it. So first it would look for that particular route, and if it's not there, then it would look in the system routes. And these would become your effective routes. Okay. So let us further validate it, right? Let us further validate it. So let me do one thing, open a new tab. You have time now?
Yeah, I'm having it.
Okay, I have time till 5, so we can continue. Okay. Okay, go to tables, create a custom route, create a oh no, I don't require to access. Okay, I want to put this in US East US, name UT 01. Okay, propagate gateway routes. What is this? Select no to prevent propagation on premise route. Okay, so this is something if you are using BGP or any other things, right? In that case, all the routes would automatically propagate, right? So as per your requirement, you can enable or disable it. So I would leave it default. Review create. Meanwhile, from VM prospect, okay, so this is 02459. Okay, so that UDR is created. Routes. Okay, let me add a route. Okay, route name. Suppose, just an example, I want to block internet, right?
Yeah.
Using the route table. Block internet. Address prefix, next hop type. Okay, so what address space I want to use? Here, the destination IP range in CIDR notation 000. So this is where I am required to provide the next hop address. Hope you understand that, right? So here, suppose I want to block it, right? So what I can do, probably I can put the subnet address is itself from where I'm using it, right? Or I can put any address which is not going anywhere, right? So suppose I am using this 10.10.0.0.0 slash 8, or let me use this IP 172.168.0.0 slash 16. So you know this IP is not nowhere in the environment, right?
Yes. Yes.
So next hop is virtual network gateway, virtual appliance. So I don't have any networking in our environment. Okay, so probably I'm making a mistake here. The destination IP range in CIDR notation that the route applies to. If the destination IP is the packet fails on this, it matches this route. Okay, next hop address. Okay, first let's talk about this option one, destination IP range in CIDR notation that this route applies to. If the destination IP range packet fails to this, it matches this route. So this is basically address prefix of from where the traffic is coming. So I was making a mistake. So it's 192.168.0.0. Oh, changed by mistake. And, okay, ignore this dot. I just want to go back and then cancel it. Slash 24. So this is from where the traffic is coming. Next hop is something. Kumaran, let me know if you have question about this address prefix thing.
And this I understood.
So it's basically suppose you want to apply it on a particular subnet, not on the vNet level, right? So that's where you need to provide the address of that particular subnet from where the traffic is coming. So
Correct.
it's basically that. Here, however, I'm using that whole address space for vNet. Okay. Next hop is something. This is the next hop where the traffic would go, right? So suppose I am putting any IP 10.0.0.0 slash 0 dot suppose 9 slash 32. Okay, and I believe this IP is nowhere in our environment, right?
Yeah.
So the value must not be empty. No, it's not empty. The IP address for the this can be set only when the next hop I is virtual appliance. Okay, internet we can select, virtual network we can select. It won't keep us. Network gateway we can select. Next hop is none. Okay, so we are kind of blocking the traffic here only. Next hop is none. Otherwise, if we have a virtual appliance in our environment, right, Palo Alto firewall or anything, or Azure firewall, so we can assign the IP address of that here, right? However, I was my understanding was a bit different about it, but that's incorrect. We can't put anything here, right? I mean, if we don't have a NVA address available, then we can't put an IP here, right? We can't like just assume there is an NVA and put an IP just for the sake of providing a demo or like testing something. If you would see, like it's not letting me to do that, right? It's not letting me do that. If you would see, है ना? Invalid IP address. Oh, sorry. Even in that case, right? It's not letting me do that. So what I can do, I can select none. Select OK. It's added. This 02459 go to configuration, subnet properties, effective routes. Not available. Let's go to resource. None. Okay. And here one more thing. UDR is something which you can apply at the subnet level, not at the NIC level. You can see here, right? You don't have any option to apply it at a NIC level. So that's something you would apply at the subnet level. Okay, you can check that from here. That's fine. Let me go to configuration, propagate. There is nothing. Route subnet. Okay. Check if it gives in subnet here. Meanwhile, we can check in which subnet this VM is, and based on that, we can apply to that subnet and then further check the available effective routes. That's attached to VM NIC 2 test default subnet. Okay. VC test default subnet associate. Okay. This one. Again, we created in a different one, but anyways, let me check the VM which is there in that first subnet, first vnet. On the basis of that, we can check about it. Okay, VM2, no, it's not. VM3, it's there in test subnet 1. Okay, it's there in test subnet 1. So what before that, we can check the effective routes, right? Go to networking. Go to NIC card, check the effective routes. Okay, you can see the effective routes here. Let me associate this subnet to this UDR and then see what's the effective routes. Okay, so now we have applied a UDR to this where this route is mentioned, right? So let me refresh it. You can see this UDR is there, right? It's applied.
Yes.
So let's see what difference it would make in the effective routes.
Sure, sure. Before this populating it, so I have another query. So I know the network security group, NSG. Can you explain a bit more about the application security group? I haven't come across. So did you come across
Yeah.
application
I
security?
will tell you. I will tell you. No worries.
Uh,
So application security group is nothing but from the perspective of you think about those service
yeah.
tags, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's very similar to that. Service tag is being used for the services which are provided by Azure, right? Where it tagged those services with that service tag, right? So whatever services are behind that, those service group, if you would allow or deny that particular, oh sorry, if you would add that service tag, those all those services communication would be allowed over there, right?
Okay.
Similarly,
Okay.
if you want to make the similar sort of configuration in your environment, that is where you would be required to add a tag, right, to your
Okay.
NIC card. And once you will add that tag to your NIC card, so whatever NICs in your environment would have that tag, all those tags can be used against that application in that application security group. So in that application security group, instead of allowing IP or anything else, right? You can put that tag in allow, and it would get allowed.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay. So as you can see, effective routes, the first route table here, right? Default route, virtual network, Next hop, virtual network. I don't think it would block internet. What we did here. Next hop type is none.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
okay. Well, the effect
yes.
when it would calculate effective routes, if it won't find anything over there, it would look for another route which is available in that system routes.
Yes.
So based on that, it would figure out. Okay. So
Yeah.
conceptually, we were wrong when we were talking about how we can block it.
Yeah.
So probably you can, what you
Yeah.
can do, you can
How
provide
we
the
can
same
block
IP.
means is a 0/0/0 is there, right? So if you can go there, that system route, so you can make it as the none.
No,
So yeah.
you can't change system routes. That's the thing.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You can't change system routes. These routes
Otherwise,
are
otherwise
defined by system.
we need to create such kind of things.
You
Zero
can do
dot
one
zero.
thing. You can do one thing. The thing is from here. You can while where it is. No routes. You can probably do one thing. You can put one IP, right? And against
Yeah.
which in next hop you can put the same IP.
Oh. Okay.
So the
Okay.
traffic would be routed within that machine only.
Yeah. It won't go away. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's how you can configure it.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay. So let me close it. The other thing that you were asking about, you were asking about
ASG application security group.
ASG. Okay. Let me see where I could find that option. Okay.
Yeah.
Effective security rules, virtual
Below. I think. Yeah.
application
That's the one.
security group. So that is here, right?
We haven't. I think we need to create
We
separately. Or,
need to create application security group first, I believe. Let me open a duplicate tab. Application security group. The thing is, first you need to create one.
let me
So
start.
suppose it's a web server.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Web server. And suppose it's for any application ABC, right? US East, create. Now, hope it makes sense as I was talking about, like giving a service tag to different services, right? Here you are giving a service tag to, you are creating a application security group, kind of that service tag, and applying it to a virtual machine, right? So it's
Correct.
created web server ABC. Okay, let me close it, open it up again, see if it's reflected. Okay, we are probably in a wrong region, right? It's in Central
Really.
US. This one is East US. Okay, so we need to look here. Go to networking. Um, Go to application security group. Configure application security group. Here,
Yeah.
you can see now. Huh? Save here. So it's done. Now, what you can do, you need to go to any energy. Network security. Okay, it's classic one. Let me open the US to US one. Inbound 8 source.
Okay.
Here you can see.
Oh.
Now you can select that application security group. You can see, right?
Oh. Okay. Okay.
So
Okay.
whatever here you don't need to specify the IPs. So that's the thing. Generally you need to specify the IPs, right? Or the
Yeah.
address
Yeah.
space. But here in a similar way, if you would see here service tag, and then you select that tag
Correct.
in these defined these all defined service tags from the Microsoft side. So these service tags are related to their services. If you want to allow in general, suppose a SQL server, if you want to allow from all the regions, you can select that SQL server. Otherwise, if you want to allow from a specific region, you select that as well accordingly, right? As you can see, you know? I hope this
Got.
makes sense now.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it. Got it clear now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Really awesome. So I got all my things is brushed up and
And at the
got
same
some.
time, I mean, if we would connect only then, this session is something, as I mentioned, if you have any prior knowledge, so that is where you would learn something, and at the same time, I would
Yes.
also learn something.
Correct.
So from the theory perspective, I know things, but at the same time, I'm not doing those things day in, day out, right? And that's the whole
Correct.
purpose, that's the sole purpose why I'm conducting these sessions. So by this way, we can connect, we can discuss about these things, and we both learn something out of it.
Yeah. Today is a lot of things, right? So the single mistake we done.
we
So
we
that's
covered we covered a lot of things. Like we connected
yeah.
around 309 and it's 509. So I mean, it was a good discussion, and I would say these 2 hours spent very well.
It went like that. So not even we lacked anywhere. So entire
Yeah,
thing is
yeah. We faced a
practice.
few issues. We faced a few
Yeah.
issues, right? And we fixed those issues. And once
Correct.
those issues get fixed, we went further. So today we covered
Everything we
starting from
covered.
vNet peering, then we
Yeah.
taken a look at Bastian, and then secure access to virtual network. Again, that Bastian thing, create security rules, associate energy, and even we look further in ASGs,
Yes.
evaluate
Yeah.
effective security rules. So this is
That's
one thing.
UDR.
Even from the no, this is something where
Correct.
energy
Correct.
chaining, right? Where you have
Yeah.
energies applied at subnet level
Nick level.
and
Yeah.
at your NIC card level. Then what would
Correct.
be the effective secure rule? From that
Correct. Correct.
perspective, you can check. So even by going to that network NIC card, right? BM NIC card. At the same pace where we were looking for that effective routes, you
Correct.
would get another option to look for the effective security rules. So hope this was useful,
Yes, it's much useful, man.
and thanks for
There's a
joining me.
lot of yeah.
Okay, hopefully
That's
I
real.
would see you again on next week. And next week probably I would change the session timing as discussed earlier to 9 p.m.
Yes, no. So just continue this way. So you're pouring everything in the practical manner. You're not much concentrated on the theoretical level. So this is really cool. So that's
Are you
gives so much
interested?
thing.
Are you interested in theory as well? Because theory is
No, no,
something I
no,
can
no.
refer to. Again, the thing is, suppose I got confused about ASG, right? Where I can
Yeah, yeah.
look for it. Again, it's available in Microsoft documentation.
Correct.
So we can look there. The other thing is
Theory,
if you
yeah.
would see,
Any. Anyone can refer
Yeah,
theory
yeah.
anytime.
And
Yeah,
even if you would see from the perspective of that what we call it, like the YouTube videos that I started
correct.
creating, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's something where I am first writing some theory on my blog. So I'm not sure you visited it, right?
Yeah, yeah, we should say you given some prior excerpt to have a just have a look on that. So then we
Exactly. So
come to
that is where I'm writing up some theory, right? Giving the reference documentation detail and then creating a demo video for the same.
oh,
So the
okay,
purpose is different there, right? If you are something confused about theory, then that is where I summarized it. But again, if you want to see about it in detail, so Microsoft documentation is the right place to look for the same.
correct.
You would
Yes,
look at any blog, the information would be very limited. If you want to have that information in detail and if you want to really learn about it, then you need to refer to Microsoft documentation or any other vendor documentation, whatever technology you are reading.
correct. Yes,
From the exam or certification point of view, that's fine. You can refer to different blogs or from the notes perspective, right? So
yeah,
other
yeah,
thing, why I'm creating these notes, right? So this is something, suppose I myself forgot about it, right? So this is
correct.
something I quickly refer and can recall, right? These are the things which are there.
Yes, correct. Exactly. Yeah,
So,
thanks so much. Yeah, thanks so much for your,
okay, guys.
yeah, bye.
Hopefully connect next week again. Thanks. Bye.
Yes, yeah.